children, cow children, cow children. King Kang Kong, Kang Kong.
My name is Jean-Jacques Gaspard.
Kong.
I have been travelling west across the desert, asking my question. This is a vast land, some arable, some desert, some impassable, and some so fertile it almost seems that humans, plants, and animals could spring from it fully formed. Why, in so great a tract of earth, why are there no kings in the West? Howdy, old woman. I know you are a woman of few words, but they say that you know the answers to the questions that tear a man apart at night.
Well, I know some of the answers.
I hope you'll know the answer to this. I've travelled 200 miles through burning hot lands with my sister's husband Gavin by my side.
Hello, I'm Gavin.
We each of us have a mission, mine to learn, and his to free his wife, my sister, from a trap in which she is ensnared.
What is the nature of the trap?
Well, you can't really help with that.
Very well. And the question? Why, in all this land, are there no kings in the West?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm just a woman of few words. Perhaps you should ask the wise bird.
Will the wise bird know the answer?
I don't know. But you'll find the bird in a tree at the end of this field.
This isn't a field, it's a desert. There's no trees in it at all.
You heard the lady. Let us march, even across the desert.
We must have travelled another 100 miles through the dusty desert.
If only I had brought my meter stick. But look, in the distance, it's a fence. Whatever landowner has claimed that parcel of land, they have demarked the end of this field. And there, in the tallest cactus, a wise bird, white as a flake of snow and twice as big. Wise bird! Wise bird! We have come to seek your counsel.
Hi, I'm the wise bird. Can I interest you in some financial products?
No, thank you, wise bird. We are on a quest for knowledge.
If you have a lot of money, it's sensible to put that money to work by investing in something which will yield a good return. Why not invest in property and put your money to work?
No, thank you, wise bird. I am satisfied that I have enough money to live, and I have tried to separate myself from the love of money and of power which ruined my father, and through him many lives.
Do you have any children?
He don't, but I have 4 daughters and a son.
You should invest your money carefully so that they're well provided for in an uncertain future.
They have enough. I'm happy to let them have it all now. The life of a traveller's an ascetic life.
Some would say it's unethical not to put your money to work. You should invest your money both for your sake and for that of the society around you.
We are not here to talk about money, wise bird. Can't you see that is not our purpose?
If you have money and you give it to me, you'll be helping the economy. Just a little bit, just a few coins.
There you go.
What we want to know is not financial in nature.
Is it about death?
No, it's about the monarchy.
I don't know about the monarchy.
I thought you were a wise owl.
Yes, but I'm not knowledgeable. All of my advice is practical. Treat your friends well or they'll abandon you. You should be cognizant of your own mortality because one day you will die, and so will everyone you know, and you shouldn't pretend otherwise or it'll be a horrid surprise.
I think we're done here, wise bird. As we walked on, the feathery little fellow doled out more and more advice about the need for sound financial investments. He wasn't wrong, but he had wisdom without kindness, which I have learned is the makings of a devastating tyrant. Gavin and I had walked hundreds of miles west and west again. Another 100 miles we might find the knowledgeable person. And that is what brought us to your door. Hello, welcome. My name is the knowledgeable person, but I also go by David, which is what my birth certificate calls me. I only discovered that recently while I was at the Centre of Records gaining more knowledge. I think ignorance when it came to my own identity is part of what spurred me on to start accumulating knowledge in the first place. But that's probably true of any sapient being. How old were you when you truly knew who you were? I think identity can take a long time to determine, but I will say 16.5 years. My name is Jean-Jaques Gaspard, and this is my sister's husband, Gavin.
Hello, I'm Gavin. I've been travelling with Jean-Jacques for 400 miles.
Excuse my curiosity, Gavin, but why?
I'm trying to rescue my wife from a trap, because she's trapped in an unhappy marriage with me.
I ought to make it clear Gavin is not running away from this marriage. He is walking away to give his wife, my sister, time and space to herself.
I didn't want to give her a divorce if it's not what she wants, but I don't want to be hanging around in the way. So I came out here with Jean-Jacques.
And I am here with a question that has pained me from the start. Why is there no king in the West? That's an awfully big question. I should tell you I'm rather knowledgeable, so in order to give an answer which satisfies us all, I may need to be rather thorough. I can respect that. To be clear, you want to know why there is no king in all the West. My father, the tyrant, wished with all his heart to be the king over women, people, and men. He was an evil man, though he did not know it. My goal is, I hope, less damaging. I do not wish to be king. I wish only to know why there is no king, why there can be no king, why there must be no king over us in this great, infinite land we call the West. Now, I love the accumulation of knowledge as much as, or at times yet more than, its communication, but I will have to insist on you being broadly speaking quiet while I give you your answer. It may take a while, but please, endeavour to contain yourself and listen attentively. Your question, re kings, needs a bit of background information, a sort of context on especially what a king is, and why we might talk about divine right, the font of kingly authority. Now, did you ever hear about a person called God?
Rings a bell.
Well, I'm glad that it rings a bell, because if we're to take things right back to the beginning, he does for sure play a role. Now, in the beginning, when there were no people, there was no mortal could be called the king, but God begat Eve. Begetting is producing a child. There's some dispute over whether all genders beget, or whether it's only the fellow who outputs the seed begets and the fellow who carries the child bears. But in any case, God begat Eve, who begat Seth, who begat Enosh, begat Canaan, begat Mahalalel, begat Jared, begat Enoch, begat Methuselah, begat Lamech, begat Noah, begat Shem, begat Arphaxad, begat Eber, begat Peleg, in whose time the earth was divided. And let me tell you, there were many false starts in what, as a list, appears to be mere patrilineal succession. But this is not the eldest child inherits, though the rule of primogeniture was often spoken and believed. Again, and again, terrible firstborns invalidate themselves through cruelty or folly, death or evil, or the choice of the aforementioned progenitor God. And the whole string of generations kept going through Ragau, Zerach, Nahor, Terah, and Abraham, and it's in the time of Abraham that kings start to get a look in. For what you have heard from my lips is, for the most part, a list of leaders of an increasingly powerful family who had a fair parcel of land under their stewardship, and yet Abraham was no king. He did, however, meet a king, whose name was Melchizedek. He was the king of Salem, and he was a priest. They met, and a meal was had, both sustaining and ceremonial, and he was, crucially, king of peace. And this in a time of war. Other kings had perished, the king of Gomorrah, that inhospitable land, and a handful of others driven away, but the king of peace is the one who catches my eye in that history. Remember him, please, though history does not record his fate. Abraham begat Ishmael and Isaac, and the begetting carried on through Isaac, Jacob, Yehuda, Perez, Hezron, Aram, Aminadab, Nanshon, Salmon, Boaz, Obed, Jesse, and my namesake David, who will become significant in time. During those few generations, the man heading the family was not king. They had no king but the person God, who was alive still and always, according to all sources. The man who inherited was not even a prince. The people were not ruled, but guided, protected, and led by a succession of judges, not an inheritable role, or certainly not from parentage, just as one supposes you, Jean-Jacques, have not inherited your father's tyranny, for which I must say thank you on all our behalf. Now, the judges were as much priests and prophets as they were legal professionals. They did not judge by their own authority. One such judge was Eli, who was remarkable in the records we have for being at once extremely good and extremely bad at his job. When he learned that for his failings and the monstrous work of his children who followed him as priests he must die, he accepted it with remarkably good grace. Another sign, perhaps, that power ought not to pass from father to son, or that when it does, goodness does not pass with it. Eli's protege was Samuel, a far better priest, and it was in his time that the people of this family, known soon as the kingdom of Israel, were to gain a human monarchy on earth. Gavin, you're looking exceptionally dry-eyed. Let me know if you need a brief breather from this exposition.
No, I'm fine, just about keeping up. Lots of men. Not many kings so far.
Very good. Jean-Jacques, a cigarette break? Please continue. Unless you would prefer to pause for a glass of water or something? No can do, I'm afraid, Jacques, because in this particular quadrant of West there is no glass at all. Like sailors of old, we just don't have the ingredients to make it. I mean, yes, we have sand. That's something we have in abundance. But that's not the only ingredient glass requires. I mean, you can make glass from sand alone, but it's like making a cake using nothing but flour. That is to say, glass with all the cachet of a dry human poo. But I might pause to have a mug of water. The mugs are not good from this climate's clay, but I pick my battles. Good water. I was coming up to explaining why it is that the West, this vast and endless continent, has no king. There was a man named Samuel, who by dint of being prophet was the primary way for the people of the world to speak to God, and vice versa. We have a different system these days, but his was a vital position in the world of that ancient covenant. And on this occasion the people spoke with one voice. They said, "We would like a king, as other nations have kings." Samuel didn't care for this, which was his opinion, to which he is entitled. Perhaps more interestingly, God did not care for this, but in any case permitted it. I take it as a model of free will, but that isn't the topic you came asking about. God said something along the lines of, the people don't need a king since they have me as a guide, protector, etc., and kings have all the human weaknesses that you really wouldn't want centralized in a position of great power. To wit, they will take your money and send your children to die in battle, but if they want a king, they will have one. And from among the people he raised to be anointed Saul. Saul was memorably tall, and was a mighty man of battle. He was a good man and a good king, but remarkably soon became neither of those things, to the point that the first king had to be blotted out. The experiment had failed on page 1. Monarchy, which was given reluctantly, was a failure. But a new monarch arose. David was a good man, an underdog, and yet a mighty man of valour, and a good king. He, too, fell to neglect, greed, languid lusts, and the like. He got worse, and in a rare reversion, he got better again, and ended as a good king and a well-reputed man, and was promised of God there would always be a king in his royal line, always and forever, unto the ends of the earth. So, in summary, the second king was better than the first. The third king started admirably. He sought to be wise. Did you meet the wise bird on your travels? Solomon was even wiser, and with it wealthy and fortunate. Those who remember him for those wise early years, and his downfall and folly seem to be a blind spot even for those who know such things. To cut a long story short, 2 of his grandchildren both became rival kings, and the entire kingdom was split into 2 kingdoms. And like trouser legs, they would never be reunited. Not before the end. 2 kingdoms, each alike in destiny. Yisrael and Yehuda. I can run you through the list of kings, if you wish. It will help me drive my point home, and they're easily categorized. First, the kings of Yisrael, according to those books of kings. Jeroboam, then Nadab, Baasa, Elah, Zimri, Omri, Ahab, Ahaziah, Joram, Jehu, Jehoahaz, Jehoash, another Jeroboam, Zechariah, Shalom, Menahem, Pekahiah, Pekah, and Hoshea, at which point the nation was obliterated and its people carried away into captivity by a greater power, the Assyrians, or Medes, or Chaldeans. And you know all those kings were recorded as quite bad, quite in its old-fashioned meaning of very, especially in theological terms. Meanwhile, there is the more prosperous northern kingdom, Yehuda. Again, it starts with Solomon, passes down to Rehoboam, Abijah, Asa, Jehoshaphat, Ahaziah, Queen Athaliah, Jehoash, Amaziah, Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, Manasseh, Amon, Josiah, Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah, at which point the whole nation was obliterated, people carried away into captivity by a greater power, the Babylons, under the leadership of Nabuchodonosor, or Nebuchadnezzar if you have a clumsy tongue. I know it's a lot of detail, and I do not expect you to recall the specifics, but I promise you that none of these facts are irrelevant to your question of kings. I'm endeavouring to be deutero-economical. But you know, all those kings, and Queen Athaliah, were counted as strikingly bad, especially in theological terms, with the notable exception of Hezekiah, who was quite good, quite in the modern meaning of somewhat. So there it is, 2 nations in bondage, and no more kings. No more kings. Well, there's Nabuchodonosor. He is sort of a king, but the royal line, which was to outlast eternity, has gone on the down low. The nations were, by the beneficence of God and King Darius of the Persians, permitted to return home, but they raised no king, and time marched on 300-400 years. Now, a necessary sidebar for another emerging nation. Did you ever hear of a man named Julio Caesar? No? At one point he seemed to rival God as a household name. In many ways he sought to displace him. In our tongue he was merely Julius Caesar, who rose through politics and battle to be chosen head of his republic, Rome. Perhaps that's a name you do recognize. No, we're nearly at the end of my exposition of history, so do hold tight. The people sought to make Julio Caesar king. It was said that he stood astride this narrow world like a colossus, which means like someone very big indeed. But other senators knew that monarchy for life and for one's descendants would destroy what was truly great about that democratic republic. Rather than let the man they admired be king, they slew him dead. But it didn't help. It merely brought about war, entrenching Octavian and his line as the new king, the new emperor. It was a brief but significant civil war resulting in monarchy and eventually collapse. Octavian rewarded the local chiefs who supported him in battle. One leader of Yehuda served especially well in the War of Caesar and was made king of his province, under Rome, but king nevertheless. His name was Herod the Great. Great in battle and in architecture, but not, says history, a good king. There were a handful of kings there in the revival of this petty monarchy, this polyp on a giant, Archelaus, Herod Antipas, Philip Agrippa, and then with the capital Jerusalem wiped from the earth, kingship seemingly ceased. Now do you suppose that the monarchy was set in the wrong hands? The crown on the wrong head? The throne beneath the wrong bottom? I'm not certain if a throne was involved in that culture, but we all have our open questions. There were competing claims, even then, for the kingship. Some of them from the most surprising sources. One of them, like Melchizedek, seemed as much priest as king, and like Melchizedek gave blessings and served bread and wine, and unlike Melchizedek, fish. Some said he would rise again as king over all things, and had actually been so the whole while. Time will tell. Now, I have told you of one notable stream of kings from which, according to promise, there is still and ever shall be a rightful king over more than Israel and Yehuda. But few kings have been more than a burden, and many kings have done what is evil against good, and even against their own people. Monarchy has proven as much as anything a curse, and yet kings to this day appeal to the divine right, as if monarchy had ever been endorsed by that god. But he allowed it. He didn't prevent this monarchy, which is why it seems a model of free will. He permitted it, but he did not endorse it. And in this way it is like the common cold. No, that doesn't serve. The kings were the choice of the people. In this way they are like homelessness and all oppression, like each private and individual act of theft or cruelty or mere churlishness. The arm of God does not prevent these, and we are not struck by a thunderbolt when we deliberately fart in the vicinity of an ugly stranger. Such is monarchy. Have I answered your question? So that is why there are no kings in the West. Ah, if you'd been paying attention, you would know that there is one king in the West. One king in the West? Yes, that's right. Who? Who do you mean? Who is a king in the West? King Kang Kong, the giant monkey, and he's right behind you.
Run for your life.
In the headlines today, giant monkey still at large in the West. Thousands dead, mainly by guns bouncing their bullets off the monkey, and so it shot the people again.
Oh, we have been trapped in this bunker now for 19 weeks, and still King Kang Kong has mastery over the desert above us. No weapon has succeeded against him. When I spoke about a colossus, King Kang Kong is exactly who I had in mind.
Well, we'd better find a solution soon, or we'll all run out of oxygen.
Perhaps you should worry more about running out of water. We're down to the very slops. I thought about this long and hard. There's nothing we can do to beat King Kang Kong, but I am not persuaded that he is an evil monkey. He is only large. He's large and retaliating to human violence. I want to seek peace.
You'll be surely killed.
The wise bird told us to remember we will all surely die. I would rather die seeking peace than destruction. You're a fool if you think that you're more than a snack to that beast. You are a knowledgeable person, but I don't think your eyes are fully open.
Underground, they don't need to be. We're like moles.
I am going up there. Don't do it. I must do it. Hey, let me through. Don't let him open that door. Why are you holding me back, Gavin? I thought I could trust you. I'm not meant to tell you this. I'm not meant to tell anyone. But we are less than 6 minutes from an apocalypse situation. Small bombs contain big explosions. Vast bombs contain explosions to rival the scale of the West itself.
But I thought you said the West was incommensurable. Like it can't be measured.
The incommensurability of the West is only theory. On a curved planet like Earth, it cannot be so. You can't go out there or the explosion will get in and kill us all. You can't warn that damn monkey, or he'll find a way to steel himself to the destructive force of our megaton warhead. Is that what victory is worth to you, David? That bomb could obliterate not only the monkey, but the sky, the entire sky over all the Earth. Is that what a monkey's life is worth? Let me through. King Kang Kong must die. I'm sorry, David. I'm not a man of violence. Sometimes I think I'm not a man at all.
You've shot him.
Only enough to stun him. I have to save King Kang Kong and save the West.
If you do, you may condemn the world.
I don't want to live in a world where a monkey cannot be large. King Kang Kong, I've come out to warn you. I only want to be your friend, King Kang Kong. I don't think you're an evil monkey, only large. I wanted to know why there is no king in the West. And I don't know how, but you are the living answer to my question. I just want to know and to understand and to be able to apply that knowledge. Thank you, King Kang Kong. But beware, a megaton warhead! Oh no, it's coming! Since we retreated to your cave, I don't know what the world thinks, King Kang Kong. Do they see your peace? Do they see your surrender? Do they think you are gone for good? I want only one thing in the world, and that is for you to walk happily in the West, and in the city, and for people not to say, I will shoot in the heart, this large monkey. I want people to smile, tip their hats to you, to love you as I love you. Well, maybe not quite the same, but love you as a great avuncular titan. I could lie here with you in bliss if I didn't fear. Still fear in my heart what others say about you. I know that distant words and hardened hearts are far away, and in our sweet privacy no person disturbs us, but I look for the day when I can say, 'No man hates you for being a large monkey. None hisses, none curses, none wishes you away. I have lain with you, and I know you, your body and your kindness. Merely to lie together, it is a joy. There is such pleasure I find in scratching your hairy body. I wish you could articulate the feelings you receive from being scratched, but I see it in your eyes. Perhaps some would say that you have within your great simian body a human heart, a human soul. But that would be an insult, a discrimination. Why should human be something to aspire to? We are all what we all are. King Kang Kong, you need never be me. When I was young, I thought I was in love, when in actuality I wanted to be the object of my affection. King Kang Kong, my perfect, hairy beloved, you need only be you. Be King Kang Kong. That is why I fear for you, King Kang Kong. It's like they say about the cake. Its goodness was its death. You are innocent, and they fear you. In your heart there is natural beauty. Will they say, it is beauty killed the beast? To hear you in pain, even or especially emotional pain, I must weep. Why must the innocent suffer? Why do the cruel go unpunished? How can an evil man reign happily? But then they said, my father, Jean-Pierre Belshazzar, he was an evil man, he was cruel. He was rich and laughing until the day then he died. He died. Oh, King Kang Kong, the wise bird, was right in this respect. We should not deny our mortality. It is not morbid to think about our own deaths. It is not fear, it is not fantasy, it is fact. You know, you are right, King Kang Kong. I have put all of my energy into our love-making. We have lain together like a woman and a woman, or like a man and a person, like a person and a person, like a person and a woman, like a man and a man, or like a woman and a man. All I mean is we have lain together as a couple, and I have allowed my energy to be held in reserve for physical passion. But I forgot that I may also carry energy into my daily life. The act of love does not destroy energy, rather it produces it in glorious abundance. What I mean to say is I should not lie on the floor of our cave speaking in quiet fear and sorrow. I should stand up bold. We should both stand up and walk and run and be seen. We should not fear the great external war that says large monkeys are enemies. We should skip merrily. We should gather lilacs. We should go to town with joy and in no way ashamed. King Kang Kong, Kang Kong, Kang Kong, Kang Kong.
Look, David, it's King Kang Kong and Jacques.
They're alive. They came back to us. That is right, we came back alive. I want to tell you that King Kang Kong is a good friend animal and a good friend person. There need be no war in the West. When King Kang Kong roars aloud, he is not fierce and ferocious. He is proud and happy. When King Kang Kong roars aloud, he does not say, I am going to eat you. He says, I love this world, and I love Jacques, and it is not wrong to be a giant large monkey in boots and a poncho. And you had all better deal with it, because the world is more than a cave, and that is true for me, and true for you, and true for all of us. Our love cannot be contained. And in avoidance of doubt, King Kang Kong is not a king. It's just his name. He's just called King Kang Kong. He's just a working-class large monkey.
But what does this mean for kings in the West?
There are none. If they arise, they will die and their kingdoms will fall, and that's acceptable. And if any should rise, then their evil go unchallenged. King Kang Kong will eat them and destroy their bones. Gavin, your wife has written to tell you that she loves you as a friend.
You can tell her it's mutual.
You can tell her yourself, my friend. It is not good to be too reticent. And I hope that you will all see the gentle delicacy, the excellency, the loving kindness of this large and wonderful person and say, it is not anger in the ape. It is not harm in the marmoset. This great monkey is not fed on human meat. No, 'twas beauty filled the beast. You have been listening to Cow Children. King Kang Kong was written by Ben Swithen. It starred Jean-Jaques Gaspard as the wise bird. Cow Children will return.